You know what's fascinating? The people who seem to have life figured out, the ones who appear to glide through challenges while the rest of us stumble, they're not smarter than you. They're not more talented. They're not luckier. They simply operate with a different belief system. They act as if everything always works out for them. And here's the thing, when you act that way, it actually does. Now, I'm not talking about toxic positivity. I'm not suggesting you paste a fake smile on your face and pretend problems don't exist. That's not what this is about. What I'm talking about is a fundamental shift in how you approach the uncertainty of life. It's about changing the question from what if this goes wrong to what if this is exactly what needs to happen. Think about the last time something didn't go according to plan. Maybe you didn't get the job. Maybe the relationship ended. Maybe your business idea failed. In that moment, your brain immediately goes into threat mode. It starts creating stories about why you're not good enough, why the universe is against you, why nothing ever works out. But what if, just what if, you paused right there and asked yourself a different question? What if this is working out exactly as it should? See, most of us have been conditioned to see setbacks as evidence that we're on the wrong path. We take a detour and immediately assume we've failed. But the people who truly succeed, the ones who build remarkable lives and careers and relationships, they don't see detours. They see redirections. They understand something most people miss entirely. The path forward is never a straight line. Never. And that's not a bug. That's a feature. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you're not being naive. You're being strategic. You're choosing to focus your energy on solutions instead of problems. You're deciding to look for opportunities instead of obstacles. And this matters more than you might think because your brain is designed to find evidence for whatever you're looking for. If you're looking for reasons why things won't work out, you'll find them everywhere. If you're looking for reasons why things will work out, you'll find those too. The evidence is always there. The question is, what are you choosing to see? Let me tell you something about the human brain. It's incredibly powerful, but it's also incredibly lazy. It wants to conserve energy, so it creates shortcuts. These shortcuts are called beliefs. And once a belief is formed, your brain will do everything in its power to prove that belief correct. This is called confirmation bias, and it runs your life whether you realize it or not. If you believe things never work out for you, your brain will highlight every instance that confirms that belief. You'll walk past 100 good things and focus on the one bad thing because that's what fits your narrative. But here's the beautiful part. You can hack this system. You can intentionally create a belief that serves you. You can decide right now to believe that things always work out for you. And when you do that, your brain starts looking for evidence to support that belief instead. Suddenly, you start noticing the small victories. You start seeing the hidden blessings in disguise. You start recognizing that the job you didn't get led you to a better opportunity. That the relationship that ended made space for the right person to enter your life. That the business that failed taught you exactly what you needed to know to succeed the next time. This isn't about pretending. This is about perspective. And perspective is everything. Two people can go through the exact same experience and come out with completely different stories. One person sees failure, the other sees education. One person sees rejection, the other sees redirection. One person sees an ending, the other sees a beginning. The facts are the same, the interpretation is different. And that interpretation determines everything about what happens next. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you're making a choice about how you interpret reality. You're deciding to trust the process even when you can't see the outcome. You're choosing to believe that you're being guided towards something better, even when the current moment feels uncomfortable. This is not easy. In fact, it's one of the hardest things you'll ever do, because acting as if everything works out for you requires faith. Not religious faith necessarily, but faith in yourself. Faith in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. Faith that you're resourceful enough, strong enough, creative enough to figure it out. And here's what happens when you operate from this place. You become calm in chaos. You become clear in confusion. You become confident in uncertainty. Because you're not worried about controlling the outcome anymore. You're focused on showing up fully in the present moment. You're focused on taking the next right action. You're focused on learning and growing and adapting. And when you do that, when you release the death grip on how things should be and embrace how things are, magic happens. Let's talk about control for a second. Most people think they have more control than they actually do. They believe if they just plan enough, work hard enough, think ahead enough, they can force life to go according to their timeline. But life doesn't work that way. Life has its own timeline. Life has its own plans. And often, those plans are better than anything you could have come up with on your own. But you'll never know that if you're too busy fighting against what is. The most successful people I've ever met, and I mean truly successful, not just financially, but emotionally and spiritually, they all share one trait. They're deeply committed to their vision, but they're loosely attached to the path. They know where they want to go, but they're open to how they get there. They make plans, but they hold those plans lightly. They work hard, but they also know when to let go. They understand that forcing something that's not meant to be is exhausting, and they understand that allowing something that is meant to be is effortless. This is the paradox. You have to care deeply and not care at all at the same time. You have to give everything you've got while simultaneously being willing to walk away. You have to believe in your dreams while being open to those dreams evolving. This is not wishy-washy. This is wisdom. This is maturity. This is what it means to act as if everything always works out for you. Now, some of you might be thinking, but what about the bad things? What about the really hard stuff? Does that work out too? And this is where we need to be honest. Life includes pain. Life includes loss. Life includes disappointment and heartbreak and failure. Acting as if everything works out for you doesn't mean these things won't happen. It means you trust that even these things are part of your story for a reason. Even these things are teaching you something. Even these things are shaping you into who you're meant to become. I think about the hardest moments in my own life. The moments where I felt completely broken. The moments where I couldn't see a way forward. The moments where giving up seemed like the only option. And you know what? Every single one of those moments led me somewhere I needed to go. Every single one of those moments taught me something I needed to learn. Every single one of those moments introduced me to a strength I didn't know I had. Were they fun? No. Were they easy? Absolutely not. But did they work out? Yes, they always did. Not in the way I expected, not on the timeline I wanted, but in the way that was ultimately right. This is what it means to act as if everything always works out. It means you trust the timing of your life. It means you believe that the delays are not denials. It means you understand that sometimes the best thing that can happen is for your plans to fall apart so something better can fall together. It means you stop resisting what is and start accepting that maybe, just maybe, life knows what it's doing. Let me ask you something. What would you do differently if you truly believed that everything always works out for you? How would you show up? What risks would you take? What conversations would you have? What dreams would you pursue? What would you stop worrying about? What would you start enjoying? When you act as if everything always works out, you give yourself permission to be bold. You give yourself permission to try. You give yourself permission to fail. Because you know that even the failures are part of the path. Even the mistakes are part of the process. Even the setbacks are setting you up for something greater. This mindset doesn't make you reckless. It makes you resilient. It doesn't make you careless. It makes you courageous. It doesn't make you passive. It makes you powerful. Because when you're not afraid of things going wrong, you're free to focus on making things go right. When you're not paralyzed by the fear of failure, you're liberated to take meaningful action. When you're not obsessed with controlling every detail, you're available to receive the unexpected blessings that show up along the way. And blessings do show up, opportunities do present themselves, doors do open, but only if you're paying attention, only if you're looking for them, only if you believe they're coming. If you're walking through life with your head down, convinced that nothing good ever happens to you, you'll miss the good things that are happening all around you. You'll be so focused on what's not working that you'll ignore what is. You'll be so busy complaining about the closed doors that you'll walk right past the open ones. Acting as if everything always works out for you is a practice. It's not something you do once and you're done. It's something you choose over and over again, especially in the moments when it's hardest to believe. It's waking up after a terrible day and choosing to say, okay, what am I supposed to learn from this? It's getting rejected and choosing to think that wasn't my opportunity, which means the right one is still coming. It's facing uncertainty and choosing to think, I don't know how this will work out, but I trust that it will. This is not about lying to yourself. This is about leading yourself. Your thoughts create your feelings. Your feelings drive your actions. Your actions determine your results. So if you want different results, you need different actions. If you want different actions, you need different feelings. If you want different feelings, you need different thoughts. And it all starts with the story you tell yourself about what's happening in your life. Right now, you have a story. Maybe it's a story about how hard things are. Maybe it's a story about how unlucky you are. Maybe it's a story about how nothing ever goes your way. And as long as that's your story, that will be your reality. But you can change the story. You can rewrite it. You can choose a different narrative. You can decide that from this moment forward, your story is that everything always works out for you. And when you make that decision, everything changes. The energy you bring to a situation matters. When you walk into a room believing that people won't like you, you show up differently. You're guarded, you're defensive, you're closed off. And people pick up on that energy. They respond to it. And often, you create the very outcome you were afraid of. But when you walk into that same room believing that people will like you, that you have something valuable to offer, that connection is possible, you show up differently. You're open, you're warm, you're present. And people respond to that too. Same room, same people, different energy, different outcome. This applies to everything. Job interviews, first dates, business pitches, difficult conversations, creative projects, health challenges, financial struggles, relationship conflicts. The energy you bring matters. And when you act as if everything always works out for you, you bring an energy of confidence and calm and curiosity. You bring an energy that invites good things in instead of pushing them away. Now, let's be clear about something. Acting as if everything always works out for you doesn't mean you're passive. It doesn't mean you sit back and wait for things to happen. It doesn't mean you don't take responsibility. In fact, it means the opposite. It means you take full responsibility for your life while also surrendering the need to control every outcome. It means you do your part and then trust that the universe, or life, or whatever you want to call it, will do its part. It means you plant the seeds and water them and give them sunlight, but you don't dig them up every day to check if they're growing. You trust the process. This is where most people get stuck. They want guarantees. They want to know exactly how things will turn out before they commit. They want to see the entire staircase before they take the first step. But life doesn't work that way. Life rewards action, not analysis. Life rewards courage, not certainty. Life rewards those who are willing to move forward even when they can't see the full picture. And when you act as if everything always works out for you, you're willing to take that first step. You're willing to bet on yourself. You're willing to trust that the next step will reveal itself when you need it. Think about the greatest achievements in human history. None of them came with guarantees. The people who accomplished them didn't know if they would succeed. They just knew they had to try. They believed in something bigger than their fear. They acted as if it was possible, and that belief carried them through the inevitable setbacks and obstacles and failures. They didn't let the uncertainty stop them. They let it fuel them. And this is available to you too. This way of being, this way of thinking, this way of living. It's not reserved for special people. It's not a gift you're born with. It's a choice you make. Every single day, in every single moment, you choose to believe that things are working out for you. You choose to look for the evidence that supports that belief. You choose to interpret challenges as opportunities. You choose to see setbacks as setups. You choose to trust that you're exactly where you need to be, learning exactly what you need to learn, becoming exactly who you need to become. And when you make that choice consistently, something incredible happens. Your entire experience of life transforms, not because your circumstances change, although they often do, but because you change. You become someone who doesn't need everything to be perfect to be happy. You become someone who doesn't need all the answers to move forward. You become someone who can handle uncertainty with grace. You become someone who sees possibilities where others see problems. You become someone who inspires others simply by how you show up in the world. Let's talk about resilience for a moment. Resilience is not about being tough, or never breaking down, or always staying strong. Resilience is about bouncing back. It's about getting knocked down and getting back up. It's about facing adversity and finding a way through. And the foundation of resilience is the belief that you can handle whatever comes your way, that you have what it takes, that things will work out. Without that belief, resilience is impossible. With that belief, resilience is inevitable. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you're building resilience. You're training your brain to look for solutions instead of dwelling on problems. You're developing the mental and emotional muscles you need to weather the storms of life. You're creating a foundation of trust in yourself that no one can take away from you. And this becomes your superpower. This becomes the thing that sets you apart. Not your skills or your knowledge or your resources, but your ability to keep going when others give up. Your ability to stay hopeful when others despair. Your ability to believe when others doubt. And here's the ripple effect. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you give others permission to do the same. Your energy is contagious. Your mindset is magnetic. People want to be around you because you make them feel like anything is possible. You make them believe in themselves. You make them remember their own strength. You become a light in the darkness, not because you have all the answers, but because you refuse to let the darkness define you. This is leadership, not the kind that requires a title or a position, the kind that comes from how you live your life, the kind that inspires others simply by being an example of what's possible, the kind that says, if I can do this, you can too. The kind that lifts people up instead of tearing them down. The kind that creates more leaders instead of more followers. And it all starts with this decision to act as if everything always works out for you. Now, I want to address something important. Some people will call this naive. They'll say, You're not being realistic. They'll tell you that you need to prepare for the worst. They'll try to convince you that optimism is foolish and that expecting things to work out is setting yourself up for disappointment. And you know what? Let them. Let them live in their fear and their doubt and their cynicism. That's their choice. But it doesn't have to be yours. Being realistic doesn't mean being pessimistic. Being prepared doesn't mean expecting the worst. Being smart doesn't mean doubting yourself. You can acknowledge challenges without being consumed by them. You can face reality without letting it defeat you. You can be honest about obstacles without believing they're insurmountable. This is not about ignoring facts. This is about choosing which facts you focus on. This is about deciding what story you tell yourself about those facts. The truth is, there's always evidence for both perspectives. There's always reason to believe things will work out and reason to believe they won't. The data exists for both. The question is, which data serves you? Which perspective empowers you? Which belief moves you forward? And when you're honest with yourself, you'll realize that believing things always work out for you serves you infinitely more than believing they won't. Even if you're wrong, even if things don't work out exactly as you hoped, you'll have spent that time feeling hopeful and empowered instead of anxious and defeated. And that matters. That changes everything about the quality of your life. Let me tell you about regret. Regret is a powerful teacher, and one of the most common regrets people have at the end of their lives is not the things they did, but the things they didn't do. The risks they didn't take, the dreams they didn't pursue, the words they didn't say, the chances they didn't give themselves. And when you ask them why, the answer is always some version of fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of looking foolish, fear of things not working out. And that fear kept them small, that fear kept them stuck, that fear kept them from experiencing the fullness of life. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you're choosing not to live with that regret. You're choosing to bet on yourself. You're choosing to try, even if you might fail. You're choosing to speak, even if your voice shakes. You're choosing to love, even if you might get hurt. You're choosing to live, really live, instead of just existing. And at the end of your life, you'll look back and know that you gave it everything, that you didn't hold back, that you trusted yourself and the process and the journey, and that is infinitely more valuable than any specific outcome. This mindset also changes how you handle success. Most people are so focused on chasing the next thing that they forget to appreciate what they have. They achieve a goal and immediately move on to the next one without pausing to celebrate. They reach a milestone and dismiss it as not good enough. They accomplish something significant and diminish it by comparing themselves to others. But when you act as if everything always works out for you, you understand that success is not a destination, it's a series of moments. It's a collection of small wins that add up over time. And you take the time to acknowledge those wins, you take the time to feel grateful. You take the time to recognize how far you've come. Gratitude and this mindset go hand in hand. When you believe things always work out for you, you start noticing all the ways they already have. You start recognizing the blessings you've taken for granted. You start appreciating the people who've supported you. You start seeing your life as abundant instead of lacking. And gratitude is a magnet for more good things. The more you appreciate what you have, the more you'll have to appreciate. This is not woo-woo. This is psychology. This is how the human brain works. This is how energy works. This is how life works. So where do you start? How do you begin to act as if everything always works out for you, especially if that's not how you've been living? You start small. You start with one thought, one decision, one moment. The next time something doesn't go according to plan, instead of spiraling into panic, pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, what if this is working out for me? What if this is exactly what needs to happen? What if there's something better coming? You might not believe it at first. That's okay. Ask the question anyway. Plant the seed, water it. Over time, that seed will grow. You also start by looking for evidence. Every day, write down 3 things that worked out for you. They don't have to be big things. Maybe you found a parking spot right away. Maybe someone smiled at you. Maybe you had a good conversation. Maybe you solved a problem. Maybe you learned something new. The more you train your brain to look for what's working, the more you'll see. And the more you see, the more you'll believe. And the more you believe, the more you'll act from that belief. And the more you act from that belief, the more things will actually work out. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, but in the best possible way. You also surround yourself with people who believe this too. People who lift you up instead of bring you down. People who see possibilities instead of limitations. People who encourage your dreams instead of questioning them. People who remind you of your strength when you forget. You become like the people you spend the most time with. So choose wisely. Choose people who act as if everything always works out for them. Their energy will rub off on you. Their mindset will influence yours. Their belief will strengthen yours. And finally, you commit to the practice. Because that's what this is, a practice, not perfection. You'll have days where you forget, days where you slip back into old patterns, days where fear takes over and doubt creeps in. That's human. That's normal. That's expected. But you don't let those days define you. You acknowledge them, you learn from them, and you start again. You recommit. You choose again. You act as if everything always works out for you, again and again and again, until it becomes who you are, until it becomes your default, until it becomes the lens through which you see the world. This is not easy work, but it's the most important work you'll ever do, because how you think determines how you feel determines how you act determines your results, and your results determine your life. So if you want a different life, it starts here. It starts with this decision, this choice, this commitment to act as if everything always works out for you. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to wait for proof. You don't have to wait for evidence. You don't have to wait for things to get better before you start believing they will. You start believing now. You start acting now. You start living as if it's already true now. And when you do that, when you truly commit to that way of being, the universe has no choice but to respond. Life has no choice but to meet you where you are. Opportunities have no choice but to show up, because you're finally ready to see them. You're finally ready to receive them. You're finally ready to act on them. So I'll leave you with this. Everything you want is on the other side of the belief that you can have it. Everything you dream about is on the other side of the trust that it's possible. Everything you're meant to become is on the other side of the decision to act as if you already are. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for proof. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Start now. Start today. Start with the very next thought you think. Choose to believe that everything always works out for you. Choose to look for evidence that supports that belief. Choose to act from that place of trust and faith and confidence. And watch as your entire life transforms before your eyes. Not because the world changed, but because you did. And that, my friend, is where all transformation begins. With you, with your choice, with your belief. Act as if everything always works out for you. Because it does. It always has, and it always will.